Look, thanks for your kind remarks about my work, and to our other guest here as well. Look, with the situation in Australian history, I think it's absolutely essential that children should be taught and have celebrations, with assembly and running the flag up and all that sort of patriotism stuff. Every society that's ever had an education system has done that with their young people, to teach them to be loyal to their own countries, teach them to be patriotic. Except in the West, and Australia is typical of this, over the last 40 years, or maybe even the last 50 years, we've gone back on that, and we've tried to tell our young people that their country is the result of an imperialism of white supremacists who destroyed a wonderful way of life that existed here before, and we should respect the people who were here before for their great job in preserving the land, etc., etc. Very Rousseauian, noble savage kind of view, which everyone who knows anything about hunter-gatherers' life knows is just not true. The trouble is, and I'm sort of pessimistic and optimistic. I'll keep the optimism for just a little bit, but the pessimism is that the whole teaching profession has been brought up on this. They were students themselves, they were taught this, they go into classrooms and they teach it. When I started teaching Australian history in the 1970s, and I was a leftist then, but we taught Australian history as a good news story. First place in the world, second place in the world to give women the vote, one man, one vote from the 1850s in New South Wales, including all the Aborigines, which, and now, George Williams, a professor of law, somebody who can go around saying none of the Aborigines had the vote, and, there are voting booths. Even in the Northern Territory in the 1890s, there's a polling booth on an Aboriginal community, which we put onto Quadrant Online a couple of years ago now. The whole story about the evil white man is something that fills the mind of the education system in the way that it fills the mind of the people on the ABC and the people at the Sydney Morning Herald. And it's not a simple matter to change this. It's the left took 30 or 40 years to get their view of the world in place, to cement it in the institutions, to capture the universities and the major public media organisations, and I think it's going to take that long to win anything back. And if you know the people on the left, as I do, in the 1970s, who eventually brought this about, they were all ultra-leftists. Many of them were children of communists, and they set about to create the situation that they've now succeeded in doing. And you can't just sell the ABC or say we'll take $500 million away from you, because you lose the next election if you're a government that does that. These things have got to be. You've got to win the culture wars first. And one of the things that Liberal politicians are very bad at is understanding what the culture wars are all about. And if they become education minister and somebody says, look, here's a program to stop bullying against these poor kids boys who wear dresses, which is really a disguised form of grooming kids to become homosexuals themselves, and non-homosexual kids to become homosexual, the education minister is completely oblivious to it, and all the education ministers in New South Wales have been the same for as long as I can remember. They just don't get the sort of things that are going on in their own departments. And Mark Scott, who I had a bit to do with on the ABC, Mark is now heading the education department in New South Wales, and Mark is one of the same kind of lefties who think, if these people who are experts tell me what's going on, it must be true. There's no easy solutions. The best thing, as somebody said earlier, that we've got going for us is not kind of little political campaigns, but it is the mainstream media and the Queen is the best rock star we've got, and the second best rock star we've got is Harry, and his brilliant choice of a movie star as a wife, guaranteed to put him. And you imagine when Harry and Meghan have a baby. I mean, this is the way to win hearts and minds of people for these institutions. But look, on the culture wars, there's in the optimistic side of things. And last night I edited an extract from a new book called Land of Dreams, and it sort of made me think, well, there's some hope here. It's a book about about the origins of Australia, origins of Australian liberalism in 1788 to 1860. It tells a very good news story, the sort of news story that I grew up with in the 50s and 60s at school and university. And we're going to do an extract from the book, 5,000 words extract for Quadrant, showing the influence and really quite strong. I learned a huge amount of Adam Smith, Jeremy Bentham, and William Wilberforce. Now, I've written about William Wilberforce and his influence in Australia before, but these other two were quite new to me. Now, the book is written by one of the education ministers who I've just been whose views I've just been trashing. It's written by David Kemp, and it's a fabulous book. And the best thing that everybody here can do, I think, is to buy a copy. Everyone you know who still reads books, buy them a copy of Land of Dreams for Christmas, and you'll be doing everyone a favour. It's a great new revisionist project. It's funded by the Menzies Research Centre. It's published by Melbourne University Press, and the Menzies Research Centre had to pay the big dollars to get them to publish it. But nonetheless, it's a very good, it's a nice, proper book. It's not just a paperback, and it's a wonderful story. And that's the way that I think you have the prospect of changing people's minds when they are going through the education system and they discover from a book like that the whole sort of the Leninist version of imperialism that has been riding roughshod over the education system for the past 40 years is just simplistic rubbish, and that there are great people behind in the history of ideas behind the 18th century, 19th century expansion of the British Empire, which included the foundation of Australia. So I think just one more thing, just while I get the opportunity on George Williams. Look, a couple of days ago we had an article in the Australian, and it's about. He wants the voting age to be reduced from 18 down to 16. Now, George is not doing this because he thinks he's got a bright idea. I think this is part of a well-orchestrated plot. There are people who like to change the world, and they've got together on this because they've got survey opinion polls that show that people in that age group are very left-wing. Young people in that age group are very left-wing, as you'd expect, because they're taught. The only thing they're taught in the social sciences is left-wing stuff. So we're going to have a campaign about this. I thought it was a terrible mistake to bring the age of election voting down to 18 when it happened, and to bring it down to 16. Now, look, the young man we had, is he still here earlier today? Look, I was so impressed with your articulateness, but you are a rare product. You will go a long way on the conservative side of politics because there are so few people like you. Most 16-year-olds can't really think for themselves at all, and certainly can't articulate their thoughts. And as one of our great new thinkers, Jordan Peterson, said, he was talking about 18-year-olds. Well, if you think 16-year-olds, 4 years ago they were 12. And Peterson says, what do they know? They know nothing. They've never had the experience of life. They've never tried out various ideas and seen some of them fail. I mean, most of the people in this room have seen the failure, the terrible failure of communism. The rise of it in intellectual life in the West in the 30s, 40s and 50s, and then its collapse, and then the total collapse of the regimes, and all the lies that they spread have been exposed as lies since then. The trouble is that young people, 16s or 18-year-olds, they weren't born in 1989, 1990, right? The people born then are, 27, 26, 27? The kids in the education system, to talk to them about the fall of communism and how you know that Bolshevism is an evil thing that always leads, or wherever it's been, it always leads to mass murder of the population. That's just ancient history to them. It's not real. It's not something that they live with, unlike pretty well everyone in this room. So young people don't have the experience and that they need to be electors in a democracy. And I think there are people who are going to start. First of all, they start Get Up will have you know, all the young adolescent subscribers, had a lot of them. The teenage magazines, Why Can't We Vote? And we've got a lot to offer society, etc., etc. So there are good signs, but there's some really deeply pessimistic signs, and I'm afraid the left really know how to win and run culture wars, and the right still doesn't have a clue.